receiving Jesus eventually is that you receive a new body. You have presently this body, just like Jesus did. Jesus came to be human in every sense of the word, like we are. But then he dies and rises again to show us how we can be eventually if we receive him. Him being the first fruits, the first one to what they call resurrect, change in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Now, this is all very interesting because we're touching and looking on how the spiritual works and how we are human flesh and blood. Flesh and blood, we usually say. Jesus, when he rose again, was flesh and bones. So no longer kind of having blood. His whole body had changed, though he was still human in appearance, still what you would call human, but a resurrected human, a new human, a new person. With a new body. Now, this is interesting because when Jesus appears, this is what we're going to be like. And John touches upon that here. We're in chapter 3, John, verse 2. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, right? Because we've received Jesus. And it doth not yet appear what we shall be. Now, he's talking here the resurrection when Jesus comes back. He is indeed going to come back at the time appointed. And that's the time of the resurrection. The time when all of these people that have chose to receive Jesus, whether they're dead or alive, is a climatic time, the most climatic time in the history of man, in the history of every age, in the history of Bible history. It's absolutely climatic in that this is the time of the resurrection. And this is the time when the dead in Christ, those that have already died and are buried and gone, or even burned, wherever their bodies are, who knows, and kind of who cares really, because at the time when Jesus comes back, the dead in Christ, it says, shall rise first, then we which are alive and remain shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. We're all going to change and receive a new body, a new resurrected body, and your body will be just like Jesus' body. This body is largely in the classification of what you might call a vile body, because you have these vile lusts and what have you, do so many things wrong. But we shall be changed in a moment of the twinkling of an eye. This corruptible we're put on incorruption. In other words, we're corruptible and we can die because of the sin of Adam brought in some kind of like what you might call a cancer into the body, and this has been passed on down through the DNA and the genes down through the ages. So we are still trapped in this body that can die. But Jesus changed all of this, and he has a resurrected body and gives us the same. And therefore, when he appears, there will be what's called the resurrection, and that we're all going to change in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. The dead in Christ shall rise first, and we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Now, here we are, look, John chapter 3, verse 2, Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. So he's not sure exactly how this is all going to work, and we're not kind of clear exactly what we shall be. We've got our clues because Jesus rose again. And he also said, because I live, ye shall live also. In other words, because I've now come back to life and conquered death, I'm never going to die again. You also can conquer death and never die again. In fact, you're going to be like the angels. The angels were created. They didn't come 9 months through the womb. God just simply spoke them into existence. So in a moment, a twinkling of an eye, you could say an angel was created. He wasn't like humans going 9 months into the womb, then born and then growing to be a man and so on. God, in fact, when he created Adam, was fully grown, a full-grown man. So God can simply speak a person to existence at the time of the resurrection. You'll be spoken into existence if you're already dead. And you'll be just like the angels. The angels, God makes his angels spirits, and they being ministers, of course, are flames of fire. This is what you'll be. You'll be spirit. You'll no longer, in fact, have flesh and blood. You'll be flesh and bones, but you won't be flesh and blood. You'll be kind of like more operating in the spiritual sense. And you'll be just like the angels in that the angels never die. Jesus said, they that are the children of the resurrection, being the children of God, the children of those, in other words, they received Jesus, will be just like the angels and will never die. You'll never have to die again. So Paul said this corruptible will put on incorruption. In other words, this body can go wrong and get ill and have heart attacks or whatever, get dementia or whatever you can get these days. That might destroy your body. You could be hit by a car even, or have a plane crash, or whichever, which would destroy your body. Your new body will be indestructible. It can walk through walls. It won't matter. If a lorry come charging down the road at 100 miles an hour and you stood there in your new resurrected body, you could just simply so easily pass through it, just like Jesus did. So Jesus being the model, showing us what our new body would be like, would be just like him. He could walk through walls, he could reappear, he was telepathic even. They in the spirit world appear to be more telepathic.